Can anyone be hypnotized?
Welcome to Soul Guide with Vondie Lozano, a show about past lives, life between lives, and this life.
Hey, everybody, it's Vondie, and I'm really happy to be with you here today. We have some really interesting questions. And I think we're going to start doing a monthly Q&A as long as people have things that they want to know about your life between lives, your past lives, and how it all relates to this life. So today I'm going to share a little bit, let me bring up my slides, about the questions that you asked. I can't believe we're on episode 15. But one of the first questions came in from D. So thank you, D. What messages and signs are souls able to provide to the incarnated? So, one of the beautiful things about doing your sessions is you get to meet your spirit guide. This is the being that has been with you since your soul was created. So, you are your spirit guide's graduation present. So, when that soul who maybe used to incarnate here on earth or somewhere else, when they advance to a certain level, they stop incarnating, or very rarely do they incarnate, and they have a soul you to now look after. They're like your mentor, sponsor, big brother, best friend. So you get to meet them, connect with them, and you get to continue to connect with them. So even though they're over there, they can connect with you over here. And we're going to see a really interesting video that a friend sent me very recently about this. I also did a whole episode about after death communication and the many ways that souls, our loved ones, can connect with us here on this side. So you're welcome to check that out. But through signs, they're able to manipulate electricity, I've heard, more easily than some other things. But we often hear them, sense them, feel them, get messages, dreams. There's many, many ways that they continue to give us messages. And we actually ask when someone passes over, when they cross over at the end of their last life, who do you want to reach out and connect with or comfort with before you go and return to your home, your life between lives? And they'll often go to connect with a loved one before they cross over. And we'll ask, can they sense you? What are you doing to communicate with them? Often it's a hug or something like that. And they'll say, yeah, they can feel me and sense me. So, yes, we do continue to connect with our loved ones, and our guides can connect with us, even though we're here and they're there. So, I have this really cool video that Ken sent me. His sessions are written up on my blog if you want to learn more about him. But he sent me this recently, and I'd love to share that with you. So, hold on, let me remove myself.
I was just reading an article about getting help from your spirit guide, and it said to ask them if you're on the right path and ask for something very specific, like a purple giraffe. So I said, okay, I want a purple giraffe if I'm on the right path for doing charity work. And so I didn't think it was cheating to look in my niece's toys. So I just took a quick look and I found this purple thing, but that's not a giraffe, that's a hippo. But it's also a giraffe.
I love that. I love that. So thank you, my dear friend Ken, for sending that to me and showing us that they can give us really specific signs. And they were letting him know that they're with him. So thank you for sharing that with us. Okay, so let me go back to some of the other things I wanted to share with you and answering your questions. So one of the questions I got from Anna was, why are we now being allowed to see our life between lives? So I've been hearing this for a while. The veil is thinning. I heard that from my mediumship teacher, who was kind of the person that got me started or contributed to me taking a big leap in this journey. And it seems like what I even remember from the Newton books is that basically we need help. And so they're sending us more beings here to connect with us. We're opening up more. They're giving us more information. So I'm regularly getting advanced souls coming now who are aliens and much higher beings, or have aliens and much higher beings in their council, very, very advanced souls. And they're coming here not for their development. So in the place of life body selection, we usually ask, what are they here? What are they working on? Even in your council, we ask. But these souls, I was once told by a guide, someone's guide and someone's counsel, put that book away, my questions to ask about their journey on their life between lives, because there was no questions in there about them. They weren't here for their benefit. They were here for our benefit, for those of us on earth. So my sense is we're being allowed to know more because they feel like we need that. A shift is happening, and there's a big attempt to raise our vibration level. I did a session just last week where there were beings on another galaxy actually, and they were working to raise our vibration level here. Sometimes by incarnating, but sometimes by the other work that they were doing long distance even. And that being where I was told to put that book away, she was actually a council member, and they've stopped incarnating ages ago. But the council had incarnated here among us, spread out on earth, again, for our benefit to raise our vibration level. So my sense is we need the help, and that's why. And that there's a very big shift happening, a vibrational shift, and it's an exciting time to be here. Okay, next question. Jonathan. Thank you, Jonathan. What is the process of the creation of the soul? That is a great question. And it just so happens that last week in episode 14, Molly was sharing about her life between lives, and she actually went to the soul nursery at the end of her session. I was blown away. Um, I read a little bit about it in the Newton books, but it's not something that a lot has been written about, at least that I've come across. So I was really excited when she said, I'm at the soul nursery. And she said she saw a wall of light and balls of light coming out of the wall of light. And then there were nurses that were taking them in their arms. It reminds me of the movie Soul. If you haven't seen it yet, it's great, by Pixar, by Disney. It's on Disney Plus. And they have these spirit guide type beings. And I don't know if that's what the nurses looked like, but she said they took them in their arms. And so it was a very beautiful, nurturing, loving picture. And I think these questions all came from Jonathan, the creation of the soul questions. He asked, what are we doing before our souls are created? Um, which I thought was also amazing. So I don't know. I haven't read or heard or had any sessions that discuss that, but we are all one. We come from source. And so my sense is we are just with or part of source. In fact, the more advanced souls I see, the more they don't say I'm one of, they say I'm part of, because on the other side, we're all one. And the more advanced someone is as a soul, the more they speak as a group, as we, as a council, as a group of beings. But again, I remember asking someone, oh, so you're one of these. And they were telling me about these clouds and colors. It was very amorphous. Very advanced souls are presenting this way. At least that's what I'm finding. More alien beings from other galaxies and planets. But they said, I said, oh, are you one of them? And they said, no, I'm part of them. So we come from source. And on the other side, we are all connected as one. So that's the best answer I have for that. And I'm still learning. We're all still learning. Michael Newton learned what he could in his, 7,000 sessions that he did. And then the rest of us, there's about 200 right now who've been trained by the Michael Newton Institute. We're all learning and contributing to the body of knowledge as we learn and as souls bring information to us. So when you come and do your sessions, you're contributing to that. So thank you. So how long is it between our lives? It depends, but what I do know is that we are, quote, recycled more frequently now, just because there are more beings on the planet. So maybe during prehistoric times, there weren't as many people here. And so we didn't reincarnate as frequently. So yes, new souls are being created, but also there are more people. And so we are coming back more frequently. And then also just remember time, how much time, are we over there? Time is very different there and here. In fact, some would say everything is happening simultaneously, which kind of blows my mind. But I had someone, Brian, who came on, I think the second or third session or third episode and he shared about this. So I'm okay to share about this. In his soul group, it was included his other past life selves, like sitting around with him, because he said they're all happening all at the same time, which, like I said, kind of blows my mind. But time is very different. All time is now time. So you can be visiting the time between your last life and this life, but still getting questions answered about this life because you have access to all of it all at once over there. So someone once asked I think it was in a book, I read this. They said they went and talked to their soul guide after after they crossed over, and they said, "How long did you speak with them?" And they said, "Well, 20 years your time, 20 minutes our time." So like 20 minutes on the other side would be like 20 years here. So time is just very different. It doesn't really exist over there. And maybe it doesn't really exist at all, but I can't really think about that too much. Okay, why do some people remember that they've had lives on Earth before? Thank you, James, and others don't. So again, I'm not sure if I have like a great answer, but I just know some people are more open. We have psychics, we have mediums. Some people are more tuned into what we would call the wireless. That's what I had a doctor who called it that once, osteopath. So I've noticed it runs in families a little bit that, and I don't know if it's just the openness runs or how that works, but some people are just more open and more connected. Some kids come into this life remembering their previous lives. I think, and I've heard, my sense is when you have dreams, I have had dreams that take place in the same place over and over. And when I see them, I go, oh, I've been in this place before. So my sense is those are past lives we're remembering. So maybe people don't always remember that they're remembering past lives or know that they're remembering past lives. Some would say deja vu is sometimes a past life memory. It could also be something that you chose to, it's an important event to remember in this life, which we'll talk about again in a minute. A way to remember something, it's something significant. So it could be some are more open, tuned in. I don't know that it's a reflection of if you're more advanced or less advanced. I wouldn't say I've actually seen that. Um, do you think it's possible to, I think this question came from Lisa, to remember a tragic life and then a peaceful, more recent life? Absolutely. Sometimes we choose a really hard life and then sometimes we need a vacation, an easy life, a break. So typically they tend to get more and more challenging because the more advanced you are, the more challenging lives you choose. But absolutely, you could have a very challenging life and then a less challenging life. This was a great question, crossing over. Does your soul leave your body right before you die? I have seen that, which is kind of reassuring, actually, but especially in really tragic or painful deaths, um, the person will say, yeah, I'm not in there anymore. In fact, when my mom passed and the person who did my sessions came to meet me at the hospital, which was really beautiful, I just wanted someone near me who would know that this life wasn't the end because that gave me so much comfort. But right before she passed, we had taken her off life support, and not to get into too much detail, but it was very sad and it wasn't like in the movies where someone just slips away. She was kind of hanging on for a bit, and that was hard for us to watch. And he just said, he talked to her, and she said, "I'm not here. I'm not in that body anymore." So yes, it's really common. At least that's been my experience. And if anybody has any other information or other questions, feel free to put those in the comments now. I'll look at them before we wrap up. Who is there to greet you when you cross over? Usually your guide, again, the guide who was kind of assigned to you when your soul was created. But sometimes it's a loved one. I've had on just a couple of occasions a loved one is there, a special loved one. And then for more advanced souls, they don't necessarily need the same orientation and sort of reintegration back to our home on the other side. So sometimes they'll just go straight into their soul group. So that's what I've seen. And then there's other places where people will just pop into, but typically it's your guide. And then for more advanced souls, at least my experience is they usually join their soul group. And one of the questions we ask as you cross over is, do you see a large globe of light or several smaller or littler lights? And the large globe of light is usually your guide. And if there's a lot of lights, we know usually you've returned to your soul group. And then we get closer and we find out more about who's there and who's greeting you. Sometimes I had a soul group show up right at the beginning when the guide usually would show up, and they were dusting the person off. They were dusting the person off who was returning, which was basically helping them heal, kind of letting go of the stuff from the previous life. Attitude towards reincarnating. Someone asked, do we have to keep reincarnating? I don't remember who asked that. Do we have to keep reincarnating? So, um, and again, my mom, who had a difficult life, I said, next time, hopefully you'll have an easy one. She said, do I have to come back? And I said, well, you don't have to, but we usually do. So one of the things we ask is, what is your attitude towards reincarnating? Is it joyful, indifferent, cautious, a little nervous? Um, but reincarnating is actually a privilege. And I don't think we've shared about it in the Soul Guide show, but I've written about it on my website and talked about it quite a bit. But the Mr. Mighty session, where Heather, who I've never had this happen before, and I've never read about it in any of the books, but when she crossed over, her guide was mad at her, and she went before Mr. Mighty, and she was told, child, if you don't start shaping up, you're not going to be allowed to reincarnate anymore because you're wasting these lives, and we're putting a lot of planning and energy into this. So the message ultimately was loving, which was, we're sorry we were kind of so hard on you and scared you straight. In this life, you actually need to lighten up. But reincarnating is a privilege. And so she was told if she didn't get it together, they wouldn't let her keep coming back and wasting lives. And she obviously did get it together because she was back. Okay. And then pre-birth, another really good question. What are we doing right before we're born? So you go to the place of life body selection or in your life between lives. And that's one of the questions we ask. What are you doing right before you're born? And some of the things is they're getting kind of coached on, there's little workers in the life body selection area often. Sometimes they're getting coached on red flags or triggers or ways to remember significant people. Sometimes people say, I'll just know them. I'll just know kind of in my gut or in my heart. So people that you're supposed to work with or encounter, because we set this all up. A lot of planning goes into your life. So you set up who you're going to be with it. We still have free will because you get to make choices once you're here. But, think of it as trajectories or potentials. So we have people that we've said, okay, I'm going to work with you in this life, and I'm going to be the good guy, and you're going to be the bad guy, and we're going to do this and that, and we're going to work on this because I need to learn strength, and you need to learn compassion, or whatever it is we're going to work on. So sometimes we go through who are the people that they see that they're going to work with, and what red flags or triggers are they being given, and also, one person who had a session, this was the person who was on the very advanced council that had incarnated. She said, if you haven't seen that Soul movie, they got a lot right. Not everything, there were parts that were a little bit off, but a lot was right. And she said there's a scene where they show the baby souls looking over the edge before they kind of slide down into earth. And she said, that's what I saw. Like the little soul looking down before they slide into their life here on earth. And in the Mr. Mighty session, Heather was in the what she called it with the Mr. Jesus men. So I think they maybe look kind of hippie-ish, like long hair, but that's what she called the workers in the life body place. And she said the Mr. Jesus men were there, Mr. Mighty was there, her guide was there, and they were all kind of hopeful. I think she said her guide was a little wait and see because he was the one who was annoyed with her when she crossed over. But they were all there. And sometimes you see that the whole kind of soul group will show up as sort of a send off, but everybody's different. Everybody's different. Okay. And then the actual hypnosis process, I just wanted to answer a couple questions about this. Someone just asked me this week, because you bring a list of important people and then your 5 or 10 questions for the session about your life purpose or whatever it is you want to find out. But she said, who do I put on my list? She says, sometimes people think they only put deceased people, and sometimes people think they only put alive people, and you put both. And she said, why do I put people on my list because basically it's a list. So I have a little cheat sheet when we go to your soul group and people show up, and I know, if John shows up, oh, that's great. He's your husband. And if so and so shows up, oh, that's your ex-husband, which they might be in your soul group. So it's just a list I can look over and glance at and know who we're talking about. But she said, why would I put alive people on my list for my LBL session? And I was explaining that you can be here and there at the same time. So your soul group will include people who've crossed over, but it'll also be people you're incarnating with right now, because we don't bring all of our energy into any given life. So you might have brought 30% of your energy here, and part of you is still there in your soul group. And you might also be taking classes and incarnating on another planet. I mean, you can be a really busy soul. And sometimes we didn't bring enough energy for a particular life. And we talk about that. Or sometimes we bring a lot of energy. So we are here and there simultaneously. So that's why when you cross over, you can meet someone, a loved one, if a loved one shows up right then when you cross over. And they might be your very alive husband here. And I've had that happen. And then the big question that I always get asked, can anyone be hypnotized? Someone wrote it in the Facebook group. They said, what if your brain is really active and you have trouble settling down? And someone else wrote, what if you're skeptical about the process? So I kind of wanted more clarification from the skeptical person, and I didn't get as much as I was hoping for. But basically, I'm trying to think how to say this. There's research that says a small percentage of people go very deeply, a small percentage can't be hypnotized, and pretty much everybody in between should be fine. My experience is if you're ready, it happens. So if you do guided imagery, if you do meditation, if you've done any hypnosis, it's probably a little easier because you're just less nervous about doing it, and those muscles are working a little bit better, for lack of a better word. But I've had people come who've had no hypnosis, no guided imagery, no meditation, but they're really eager and ready, and it works. So my experience is if you're ready, it works. And I don't know what they meant by skeptical. Like a lot of people are nervous it won't work, like just nervous, like, oh, I hope this works. And what if it doesn't? And they're so excited. It's if you're skeptical, like, I don't believe it's going to work, kind of arms across your chest. I can't hypnotize somebody who doesn't want to be hypnotized. I'm not like the stage hypnosis, the guy at the fair. And even he can't really do somebody who doesn't want to be. And I wish we could even use a different word than hypnosis, because it does have that stage hypnosis connotation. But it's basically just relaxing you enough that you can be open and access your immortal soul memories. Because everything we've experienced, we have access to. We just relax you and know how to help you open up so you can access the memories that are actually there. So again, I get asked this all the time, and I regularly have people come who say they've tried hypnosis, it didn't work, they can't be hypnotized, and sometimes I'll just do a little bit more, deepening, so they go more deeply. And when I was doing it as a talk therapist, my just regular traditional practice, those were the people I'd have trouble getting back because they were so relaxed once they let go, they didn't really want it to end. So I haven't had that happen with the LBL hypnosis, but I have found that people regularly come who say they're concerned or they have no hypnosis experience, or maybe they've even tried it and hasn't worked. And I've on all the time of doing this had one person that it didn't work. And I don't think they were even necessarily concerned. It didn't work, and maybe they just weren't quite ready. So my experience is if you want it and you're ready, your guide is bringing you, your guide, your counsel. There's a reason, and they support us, and they are the beings that make this happen for you. So I do see a comment, David Ortiz. I believe if you're open to the truth, then the process will work. Yeah, David, I do too. That's been my experience. All righty. So I'm not seeing any new questions, but I really appreciate the questions that came in. Some of these were from people who voted in the poll. Some were adding your own questions, which was wonderful. Like I said, I would love to do this every month as we have new people coming into the groups and new people on the page. I'm talking about Facebook, and people wanting to know more about your life between lives. I'm really thrilled to get to share. So let me look and see. I always tape my notes to the back of my behind my monitor. So that's what I'm looking up to see. So If you would like to have your own session, or you would like to find out more and have questions about if this would be a good fit for you, you're welcome to book a discovery call. That's just a 15-minute free call with me where we can talk and you can ask questions and I can talk with you, answer your questions, explain a little bit more about how this works. So it's being posted right now here. lifebetweenliveshypnosis.com is my website. You can book it there. And then the full link is on the page. And for those of you who are listening, if you just go to the website, you can find it there. And we'll also put it in the comments when we post this on the podcast. So I think that's it for today. Next week, we'll be talking about Steve's counsel. And thank you so much, those of you who are sharing your sessions, or in this one, allowing me to share your session. And I just have to confess, Steve is a little bit of an advanced soul, and the more advanced souls are really modest. So it doesn't surprise me that some of them want to remain anonymous. The person who was the counsel, they were someone I knew in my personal life, and they made me promise not to tell anybody that they were an advanced soul. Like, I'm not as advanced. I'll be telling everybody. So anyway, Steve had a really unusual counsel, which is part of the advanced soul experience sometimes. An alien, 3 monks, and an orange ball that was the most interesting of all. And he also had a past life in Vietnam, which we'll learn more about, and another really interesting past life as well. So thank you, Steve, for letting us share your session. And thank you, David, for your questions. Yes, definitely a life-changing experience. Absolutely. Thank you, those of you who are here watching. I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you. Love you. See you next week.
Thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and follow. And join us next week for another episode of Soul Guide.